I'll just translate my children's books into other languages and sell them all around the world and make tons of money. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I thought that would be easy or a good idea or anything. I honestly had no idea. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Furland. I'm a crowdfunding consultant for authors and creative people, and I'm also an author myself. And I have published a children's book called When the Clock Strikes on Halloween, and it's right here. And I have the hardcover version. I have 2,000 of these downstairs, and but it's been so much fun learning the process and figuring out what to do. And since I am American living in Sweden, Halloween is this new exciting holiday. And I'm like, great, this is gonna be awesome. I can do a book in English and I can do a book in Swedish, and it's gonna be like sweet spot in the market, empty market, prime real estate for me, the entrepreneurial American, to come into the space and like dominate, right? So I worked with a Swedish author and we came up with the book, Vi firar Halloween, which means we celebrate Halloween, which is like not as fun as When the Clock Strikes. When the Clock Strikes isn't a saying in Swedish, so it doesn't make any sense for the kids to do it. And you can see if you're familiar with the book, we were actually, I did all this, and my illustrator Peijen and Swedish author Veronica Lenarf. We all worked together on this, and fortunately I was able to not only crosswalk a lot of the existing illustrations, we were able to keep the book written in poetry format. So it's still a rhyming poetry book in another language, which is like the hardest option to select. It was insane. And we were actually able to modify some of the illustrations so that it was in the right language. So this is not, and he's holding kex, which goes along with the phrase, whereas on this one, in the English version, the same character is holding candy. See, it's a little different. And it has, it has night instead of nat. So we had to do things a little differently between the two books. And there are two new illustrations in this one that are not in the English version. So we had to change things a little bit there. And so I wrote down my thoughts about, not that one. I wrote down my thoughts because when you're targeting a different market, different things, you have to take into consideration different market needs and what appeals to the market and everything like that. And I actually wanted the two books to be quite similar, just with different titles. So we kept the cover the same, just with different titles. But on the other hand, that has led to some confusion when I display both of them, because people are like, wait, what language is this in? They think they're the same book. They open it up thinking it's Swedish and it's English. And so it kind of has led to some confusion. And I don't know if I would have done it differently and done a completely different cover. But that's something to think about. If you don't have market knowledge of the language you are going to be working in, you might want to work with someone who does have this knowledge. And us as self-publishers, indie publishers, we have the right to all the languages, but it doesn't mean we should. It doesn't mean we should. I mean, I live in Sweden, so for me to not have a hardcover book doesn't make any sense, because locals only buy hardcover books for children. They want durable books, and that is really the only thing. If you want your book in a bookstore, for the 3 to 7 year old market, it has to be in hardcover. If you're going under 3, it has to be a board book. That's just sort of what they do. And you have to know your local market. And now I'm having to market in my local market. And it's been a challenge. I'm not going to lie. It's been a big challenge. And I have to figure out the American Amazon selling channel. And now I have to figure out the Swedish channel, which is Aldrubis and Bookus and Book Depository, and figure out how to get people to those markets and get my book on there and all of that stuff. So fortunately, very, very fortunately, Sweden has free ISBNs. So forget the US and me spending money on US ISBNs and spending hundreds of dollars for numbers. I'm going to get my numbers from Sweden from here on out. Take that, take that, take that. So if your country has free ISBNs and you are a citizen of that country, yeah, take advantage of that. So take that. So in a lot of ways, Sweden is harder for indie authors because not many people are doing it, but in a lot of ways, it's a lot easier because they really support you in doing it. In free ISBNs, there are even stipends available to me if my book has a Swedish ISBN. How cool is that? So I can get paid to keep doing this stuff from these Swedish stipends. So yeah, I'm going to apply for that. So there's a lot of opportunities for possibly translating your book. You just have to really look and you have to apply and you have to work hard at it. And you have to work with someone who is a native speaker. Please do not use Google Translate to translate your book. It's going to be a disaster and someone's going to read it and they're going to be like, okay, technically it's in the right language, but it's horrible. So please work with a writer who is a native speaker and preferably a successfully published author when working with your book, because they know what the market responds to and what they like to read, and they have a better sense of all of that. So that's really important. Another thing that's really important is you have to decide, and we talk about this in the blog post, so be sure to read that. If you have a rhyming children's book, if you want to keep it in rhyme or if you want to translate it into prose, which is much easier, it won't be the same book at all. It's not going to be the same book anyway. It's going to be a different story regardless. So it's much easier to do it outside of the rhyming structure and all of the meter that has to go with that, the very technical details. But it means that your book won't sing like it does in your native, in the original language. So it's up to you, and you have to make these decisions, and you have to decide. You have to decide what's going to be profitable. There are costs related to all of this. You have to hire people, editors. You have to pay your illustrator again to get back on board and do new illustrations and a new cover design and all of the rest. So it takes a lot of work and energy. But I will say that I have been really open-minded to the process. I experiment by sort of like jumping in, and I'm here to report back on what works and what doesn't work. So if you are interested in translating your children's book and it happens to rhyme, make sure to click the blog and keep reading. If you have an adult fiction or nonfiction book, you have different needs and considerations. There is a blog resource link in the blog that I have. So definitely check that out if you are interested in learning more, because there are other things to take into consideration if you have a ton of text and a ton of words. It's very expensive. I think the main takeaway from all this is it's very expensive regardless of what book you have. Translating is not an easy process. It's an art form. And if you want, you can reach out to foreign rights agents and have them sell your rights to other publishers and have them take on the work. You'll get a smaller cut, of course, but it's a lot of work. So take it from me. Be sure to make informed decisions, and hopefully that helps you. So let me know in the comments whether you are interested in translating your book. Have you translated your book? Are you bilingual and therefore you don't need to pay a translator? That would be like ideal. What's your plan? What are you thinking? All right, bye everyone.